If you've ever found yourself feeling completely demoralized after you got all hyped up about that new thing you started because it was harder than it looked or more difficult to sustain, then this episode is for you. Welcome to the Do More, Stress Less podcast. I'm your host, Alexis Hasselberger, a time management and productivity coach. In every episode, I give you actionable, practical tips to help you learn to use your time in a way that feels good to you every day. No more hustling, scrambling, or struggling to keep your head above water. So let's dive in, and soon enough, you'll be doing more and stressing less. Imagine this. You get super excited about something, a new tool, a new planner, a new activity, a new skill. You dive in deep, and things are going great at first until they're not. Maybe the initial enthusiasm is just worn off, or you realize consistency is harder than you thought, or you thought you'd progress a lot faster, or you hit a snag, some friction, and you're not sure where to go next. Suddenly, this new thing you were so jazzed about is making you feel bad about yourself. And now you're ready to throw in the towel and you're feeling more than a little demoralized. Does this sound familiar? This phenomenon, it has a name. It's called the hype cycle. And in fact, the hype cycle framework was first used to describe the adoption of new technologies. And it kind of goes like this. Now, I'm going to attempt to describe for you what looks like a graph. So I would encourage you either right now or, later to go just look up hype cycle. Go Google it and you will see the graph I'm talking about. But I'm going to explain it to you, right? So, first, there's the innovation trigger. It's kind of the bottom. And this is the breakthrough, the new innovation, the thing that sparks interest, etc. Then the line of the graph shoots up to the peak of inflated expectations. And this is characterized by overenthusiasm and really unrealistic projections. Then that peak shoots all the way down, and we get to the trough of disillusionment. This is where reality sets in. Things are harder than originally thought, and your interest is kind of waning. But then things start to go up a little bit more, not as high as the peak of inflated expectations, but somewhere in the middle. And this is the slope of enlightenment. This is kind of the second wave of adopters in a new technology, right? You're beginning to understand the practical use of this thing. And then there is finally the plateau of productivity. And the plateau of productivity is somewhere in between the peak of inflated expectations and the trough of disillusionment, right? And this is in, the origins of this hype cycle. This is where the technology finds its real world applications and it starts delivering real value for most people. Now, something interesting about this, I have found time and time again in both my own life and my work with clients, is that the hype cycle is a really good metaphor for what can happen when we're trying to adopt any kind of new skill or new habit. So I'm going to try to reframe this through that lens, let's say, building a task system for yourself. This is something I do with all my coaching clients. This is something that I teach in my online courses, etc. So let's talk about the hype cycle through the lens of building out a task system. If you have a graveyard of abandoned task apps on your phone, then this is something you're going to want to continue to listen to. So we start with the innovation trigger, right? That's the spark of hope. You hear about a new task app, maybe it's from a friend, maybe a podcast, maybe from me, maybe a productivity article, and it promises to organize your life. It promises to reduce stress and help you stay on top of everything. And you think, this might be the thing that finally works for me, right? And so you go, you download it, you start putting your stuff into it, etc., right? Then we shoot up into the peak of inflated expectations, right? It's this productivity fantasy. You go all in. You spend hours, you're customizing things, you're color coding things, you're setting up recurring tasks, you're watching tutorials. You imagine becoming this most highly efficient, never forgets a thing kind of a person, right? But then You're going down, right? You're in the trough of disillusionment. This is the reality check. Reality is hitting you. You realize that it actually takes some effort to maintain this system. You fall a little bit behind in updating it. Your tasks pile up. The app starts to feel like just another thing to manage. And you just want to put your head in the sand. You're like, not this again. You are feeling not great. And the reality is, you're usually feeling bad about yourself. You're like, I can't do it. Why am I not able to make this happen? Other people are. Why not me? Right. But then, maybe we can poke our head up a little bit and we are on the slope of enlightenment. This is where real learning begins. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you realize that when you don't have any systems, actually that was way, way worse, right? And you come back, but you're coming back with more realistic expectations. You simplify your setup. You don't need, all of these different tags and colors and blah, 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 right? You stop trying to use every single feature. You stop trying to optimize everything and you start using only the features that actually help you, right? Maybe you get some support as you're building your system and you start to get into the habit of using it more. And this is where you're on that kind of slope of enlightenment, right? And then finally, maybe after a couple of months, you are on that plateau of productivity. You are doing more, you are stressing less. Your task app has become a truly trusted system for you. Did it solve every single problem you ever had? Nope. Right? That was the peak of inflated expectations. But does it help you to prioritize, to remember what really matters, to reduce decision fatigue? And does it do that all in one place? Hell yeah, it does. Now your system is a part of you, and you can't imagine how you ever existed without it. Well, I mean, you can, right? But that was a really, really stressful period in your life. Here's the kicker. When you try to learn a new skill on your own, you often never get past the trough of disillusionment. When you're at the bottom, emotionally speaking, you can't imagine it's going to get better from here. You lose confidence in yourself, in your abilities, and that feels pretty terrible. But on the other side of that trough, good things abound, right? And that's why in my coaching practice, we talk about the hype cycle actually right at the beginning of any engagement. This is one of the first things I talk about with anyone that I work with. And this is because the hype cycle, remember, go Google it so you can see the graph, it normalizes the ups and downs that can occur when you're developing new skills. And it helps you to put those emotions in perspective. When you can recognize what might be coming, it becomes less personal, right? It's less about you. You're not thinking of yourself as a failure. It's more about the process. And when you're down in that trough of disillusionment, you know that the plateau of productivity is waiting for you. But to get there, you have to keep moving forward. And when I work with people, right, my hand is there to hold them the whole way, but also you are listening to this podcast. And so my hand is here to help you along as well. Because we all need a little bit of help to get over that hump from time to time. Me too, right? So the next time you are feeling, oh, I am just in the pits, right? Remember that if you keep going, things will get better. You will get better at using whatever you're trying to do. Whatever skill you're trying to build, it will get better because you will keep practicing. So just remember, the trough is not the end. And that's a wrap on today's episode of the Do More, Stress Less podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, I've got a little something else you might want to know about. I want you to check out my free class, 3 Secrets for Always Having Enough Time for Your Work, Your Family, and most importantly, yourself. It's short, it's practical, it's packed with strategies that you can use right away, and it's free. You can grab your spot at the link in the show notes or at alexishasselberger.com. See you next time.